Hi, Jennifer.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. How was your week?
Busy. Very busy.
Yes.
I'm doing the accelerated course or courses. So I have 3 courses this last 7 weeks.
Just have to know where to look and who to write to be able to get it.
Hi.
Oh my goodness.
You have 3 of our courses right now.
So I'm doing the internship course right now, this 501 course, which a lot of my classmates took in the summer, and then this 634 course. So I'm doing the 3 of them right now. And the same thing will happen to me next quarter or next quarter, the beginning of the semester. And then I'll be taking, I think it's 4 courses in the summer to catch up with everybody else. But they offered it to me because they were doing, I don't think they had enough enrollment for the fall courses. So they were letting people do like an accelerated course. And I was like, I just want to start.
Interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Well,
no, it sucks.
you did.
It sucks. I feel super busy. I'm handling it, but I feel a little overwhelmed. Anyway, long story short, it's good. I'm just busy.
I imagine.
Yeah. What about you guys? Anything fun this week?
Made it to Friday.
Yeah. Nothing really.
I'm at AT&T getting a new phone. Woo! Finally.
That's so great. I love that we're able to do these meetings like virtually, and it doesn't have to be, it's so nice being able to just like do it on our terms and like have these conversations. I think that's wonderful.
I do too. It's definitely easier. I couldn't imagine like trying to get everyone to like meet up somewhere and go from there.
Yeah, especially with the climate that we're in right now, it's just not feasible. But I love this. So I think that's one positive thing about the changes that we've been through recently. I think this is a great way to communicate too. Although I love in person because as we know, that does develop trust, being in person together. But I think this is a great alternative. So anyway, all right, in the sake of time, I guess I'll get us started. So we did readings on building trust and we did the principal interview. And so I guess I'll just start off with our first question on the agenda, which is, what have you learned about building trust with others through actionable behaviors, or what does it mean to be trustworthy as a leader? And since I'm leading, I'll start. Trust, I loved in that article, A Matter of Trust, that they said that trust is built on small moments. And so as a leader, taking those opportunities to check in with your staff and ask them how they're doing, showing your face, being present, and then also just being open about everything. And I think that's one thing that I have found that most leaders believe to be an important value that you should have as a leader is open honesty and communication with everyone you work with. So, yeah.
I definitely agree. I know the Braving acronym from Brene Brown, I was like, wow, this is like really hitting so many different spots. But like you mentioned, like being open and checking in with them. But I think another big thing would be like owning your mistakes. So we all make mistakes, and being able to have that conversation and own up to the mistake and figure out how to fix it together, I think is pretty important.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was interviewing my principal, one of those questions that I was asking her, and she was saying, you need to be transparent and be honest and have an open door. And she goes, and once you have that trust, she goes, you can't, it's in you, if you ever break it, she goes, it's so hard to build back. I mean, even if it's with a staff member, with a parent, with anybody, it's just, you got to just, own what you say.
Yeah.
Or own what you do.
Did your principal give you any advice about maybe how she's had to build back someone's trust after maybe having lost it? Or
she just said it's going to take time. And she was just saying it's those small moments, and that small, it's going to take time, just like it takes time to build trust with somebody. If you break it, it's the same thing.
Yeah. And in that article, or the one, it was like the PowerPoint, the trust outlook or whatever. I know that there was a slide in there that said, because it was talking about the job site, and it said that trust is built over time, especially with leadership. It takes more than just like a little while. It takes a couple of months to build trust with somebody, and only if they're taking the right steps toward building trust with you. So, yeah, very true. Very true.
Okay, I think it's my turn.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you
If
can you
have
guys hear me?
Yep.
Well, I said it's being trustworthy means you're capable of having to keep things confidential. Then at the same time, you have to be able to open yourself to others and keeping that relationship going. And I think for me, a lot of times when I encounter a new coworker, it takes a while for me to trust them.
Yeah.
Let alone the same thing to them towards me. It's a lot of having to do with boundaries. I think boundaries was one of them. And letting people know where you stand, letting people know what your viewpoints are on certain things. And then you have to also learn to accept their ideas and their concepts and what their beliefs are. And then a lot of it has to do with respecting and being patient, respecting and being patient, and then accepting of others.
Yeah.
And we're not all the same, and we don't like everything, and we don't like certain things. So we have to learn to adjust.
Yes. And I like how you said that builds into confidentiality. So being someone's confidence is so important. And that also plays into the respect part of that. Because if someone can't rely on you to hold their secrets, or not even that necessarily, but saying, hey, I'm coming to this problem and I'd rather it not like get spread all over the place. And if you're going around spreading, rumors or even truth about somebody, and they want us to keep that confident, you're not going to have their respect anymore.
Yeah.
So that is very huge issue.
It's also, I don't know if I read it from Brene Brown's book or the articles, but it's that wholeheartedness. If you want to be a trusting leader and a leader that you're gonna have trust in your team, you have to show that wholeheartedness and be there and actually be listening. So that was a good word for me, is leadership equals wholeheartedness.
Yeah, I think that was in the A Matter of Trust article, and that was
the article. I think so. Yeah.
I really liked that too, because I love that whole article. It was very well written, and just talking about like the competency, like reliability and honesty of somebody. Like those are the qualities we look for in people, in relationships even, and I love how they led with that and talked about that interconnectedness of not only personal relationships, but relationships within a job. And we all look for the same thing. So I really like that too.
I really liked this article. I was reading it and I was like, wow, this has a lot of like really good points. Like some of the stuff I was like, yeah, like when you learn about trust, like some of it's kind of just like, yeah, we know that. But like when you actually put it to action, it's a little bit different sometimes. So I was reading this and I was like, wow, they have some really strong points in there. So I really liked it too.
I'm going to look at my agenda again. Learned about trustworthy. So the second thing on the agenda is, what have you learned about being trusting of others who may work with you as their leader? So I guess, what are some of the things that, how do I want to put this? What have you learned about being trusting of others who may work with you as their leader. So I guess what would you do to build trust with those people? I think is what that question is asking us.
I mean, going back to braving from Brene Brown, I mean, having boundaries, being accountable, being reliable, all of those are super good characteristics that I think you can use to build trust from somebody else. So I think, I mean, I don't want to refer to it every time, but I feel like it was really like it set up the stones really well to pull out those ideas that are helpful to build trust.
Yeah. And then I guess, so I'm rereading this question too. I guess it's, us as leaders, how do we learn how to build trust with the people we're working with? I know that sometimes I approach somebody and I'm a little bit standoffish at first, and I have to get to know them as well before I fully rely upon them. But what are some things that we should be looking for or building with someone else before and building trust with them?
I would say like a connection, like you want to like build that relationship and connection with them. And then once you can start forming that, then you can start going towards trusting them. I know it said like one-on-one conversations and such is a great way to like have that conversation and get to know somebody, and then which would down the road lead to building the trust. However, remembering it's not something that happens quickly. So you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting in the article. It says that we're inclined, we're hardwired to trust people, but sometimes we just don't always do that. And that's because of the circumstances around us. I mean, obviously stress and things like that. So it's just kind of interesting how, people give off vibes and we know who we can trust and who we can't trust, just kind of instinctually.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's how I tend to do things. Just usually first impressions usually set the stage. I don't know if that's, and it's true.
And that is kind of crazy because it is true. I don't know. There's moments where I'm like, not sure. And then somebody has to really like work to earn my trust. And other times I'm just like, yeah, like I trust you. Let's do this. And it's interesting how that's so true. That we just, sometimes we jump right in, sometimes
I think you can read a lot from a person from a first impression though, like how like friendliness, like they might be putting off. Obviously it's not necessarily always like
true,
accurate, but I feel like you can really read somebody, and so that connects back to that first impression, which is allowing you to feel that trust with them based off of the connection on that like first meet there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a lot has to do with sitting back and watching others, viewing, like taking it all in first, watching what they're doing, observing them, and then approaching them slowly, then gradually coming around. But also, as when new teachers or a student teacher or somebody that comes in, like during a staff meeting or something, you also have to show that step, that don't mess with me kind of thing. But at the same time, approach me if you have questions, if you're not too sure of how to do certain things, or if you need help with something. I think that's for me. So I think it's maybe kind of like an intimidation, kind of, and then at the same time, I'm you can hear me laugh outside in the hallway or in a meeting or after a meeting or somewhere, and I'm approachable.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's most likely like how long I've been teaching, and the pedagogy is a little bit higher for me. Like, I don't mess with me if you're not going to be keeping track of your student data.
100%.
And I know, but if I do something wrong, and if I'm doing it wrong, let me know. But please keep it professional because we are molding student lives. We are molding and we are trying to get them to be there for them to create these young people into people that will take care of us when we become older
Mhm.
and shape their world.
So
So it's
do you have a hard time trusting someone initially? And if so, if you've just met them, what do you do to kind of set the tone for that?
well, if it's new in the classroom, then I would approach, let's say, on how to go about teaching a certain standard or go about teaching with technology and getting their assistant and how they would do it their way, and then how it would coincide with me.
Yeah. And that ties
Like
into serving them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're trying to get two birds with one stone or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what I've learned about myself. I mean, over the years, from the beginning to now, I think it's you have to show that you mean business, and at the same time, you're able to be approached and have a laugh or some kind of humorous conversation. And I think at any workplace, you need that.
Mhm. I've also learned, guys, that so one of the articles also talked about how women and men trust differently. And so when I'm working with the, different varieties of people, thinking about how as a leader, if I want to have the women trust me, I'm going to be a very open communicator, and that will be something that they value. Because as women, we do like to talk. We like to know what's going on in each other's brains. We like to be able to trust each other that way, and we value that. We value communication, while men value competency. Right? They need to know that I'm going to get my shit done and stick to what I'm saying I'm going to do and be a competent leader. So I found that was very interesting as well. I it instinctually, we know that women and men are different, but being able to say, hey, this is what I need to do for this group of people, and this is kind of how I need to approach this group of people, and overall it will serve everyone. And I thought that was kind of powerful.
That was super powerful. I mean, the difference and understanding the difference and what needs to be done is important to know.
Yeah. Anything
So
else?
we kind of have to blend them together.
Say that again.
We have to blend both together. We have to be a competent, good communicator leader. That's what we need to be.
I know.
To get everybody.
In my principal interview, my principal and I were talking about communication, and he felt that was one of his strong skills, and why he felt he feels like he's doing a good job, because he's able to.
No, did he ask you, do you really think, like, kind of from the staff perspective, does he ask you if, he really is a good communicator?
He
That would be an interesting.
definitely he's had his moments. I know that there are some of my coworkers who don't always feel like he's the best communicator. He's kind of awkward sometimes, but he does do his best. I have worked for him for 5 years now, and I've never felt like he hasn't communicated with us when necessary. He's not an over communicator. I will tell you that. He's not. I feel like having a woman principal is definitely different than having a man as a principal. He, like I said, he doesn't overshare. And that is kind of nice sometimes, although us women would like to hear a little more about, like, I would love to hear more from him as far as how I'm doing. you know, we want a little bit more reassurance, or at least I do. That's one of my love languages, is words of affirmation. So I would like to hear those things. And he's not the best at doing that, but he is a good communicator. I don't think he's ever come out, to answer your question, Donna, ever said, hey, how am I doing with my communication? Which would be interesting to hear from him, to get that.
Okay. Because on the opposite side, when I was doing my interview, and you know, my principal obviously is a woman, and she's very open, and she's like, well, what does the staff think? And I'm like, because, you know, we're not busting down her door right now, screaming and crying right now, which is, I don't know, apparently that's what other schools are doing. I'm like, you should be thankful. I don't get it. So, yeah. So I don't know. It was just very weird.
That's cool to hear from her, though. I love that she's curious and wants to know how she can improve too. I mean, as a leader, that's a good thing.
Okay, we'll go with it. Yes. Okay.
Do you feel differently?
I don't feel differently. I just feel like sometimes, like, I don't know how to answer her.
Okay.
Like, she kind of puts me in that spot where it's like, because I'm her intern, but on the other hand, I'm still a teacher too. So it's just kind of like, you know, how do you play two sides? You know, it's
okay. I get what you're saying. So she's looking for reassurance from you, and that's not necessarily.
She's doing okay for the staff. As opposed, it's just like, go out there and tell, you know, and she does. But then everybody, like, they've been teaching for like 30 some odd years together, and it's an old staff. And so they don't really. I don't think they don't trust her right now, or I don't know. They blame everything on her when it's coming down from it's a whole mess right now.
So they're kind of feeling like, you know, I guess what I could say, how can I rephrase this? She feels like she doesn't know how to approach that. And so she's asking you for some input on how to engage everyone else.
I don't know.
Which isn't a good thing.
It's a good thing, but I'm just like, I don't know.
It definitely puts you in an awkward position.
Yeah.
Like, what if you don't tell her what she wants to hear?
Or what if I say the wrong thing? So,
and as a leader, you really shouldn't be asking those questions to just one person. You should be asking them to everyone. Like, hey, I realize that I haven't been here for this, that, and the other. How can I open the lines of communication to you and give you, you know, relay information to you in a way that makes sense, or that can help me value your questions, time.
Well, let's get back to what we were talking about. Girls and guys. There we go.
Well, I mean, it's part of the conversation and it's perfect, but yeah.
I don't know. See, and I've had male
I'm
principals
going to say childhood best friend.
he never.
Sure. How about that? Yep.
So that's why I was curious, because you have, you know, that's why I was like, how much does he really commit? Because I mean, the male principal I had, he never even returned an email. I mean, he left a paper trail. So I was just like, oh, okay. So on the other, so it was kind of nice.
Antonio, do you want to add something?
What question are we on?
Oh, we were just talking about the differences between, you know, gaining trust between men and women. Differences. We were talking about also how our principals approach communication. So we were kind of off topic, but
Okay. No, I don't. I think, yeah, having a male principal is great. I think it depends on how he addresses his staff members. Like I don't know how to do this, but you know, if he really shows that he wants student progress, student learning happening, and he shows you how and where to look and what resources you need to use, then yeah, go for it. If he's going by his mission and vision statements, then cool. But for the last female principals that I've had, they weren't really effective. It was just more like, oh, okay, I don't know what you guys do, just go ahead and do it. So that was my experience with the female principals that we've had at our school.
And this is the first year I've had a baby. And it's very different, but I feel like the values and what he expects is very different, but I feel like I align to what he has to say a little bit more, because he's more like, this is what's going to get done and it's going to happen like this way. Whereas the female was like, no, just do what you need to do. And I'm like, okay. So I really like him so far, but I can definitely tell that it's different.
Interesting. Yeah. I feel like mine's a mix of both. Definitely. I'm going to move on to question number 3. So I said, or the prompt says, think about what it feels like working for someone you trust or who trusts you. And then we'll kind of contrast that with what it feels like working with someone who you don't trust, which I'm sure we've kind of all had experiences across the board with trusting and not trusting people.
I know for me, when I trust someone, I'll go to them for support. And whether it's, work or like something personal. And if I don't trust them, like going to like the work aspect of things, I won't go to them for support, and I'll try to figure things out on my own. And it kind of gives you like a anxious feeling of, oh my goodness, what's going to happen if I don't do this correctly, which is a little uncomfortable. But I think that when the trust is involved, it's easier to feel appreciation. So I think it all kind of connects back to trust. When you trust them, you feel appreciated. You have that like relationship and connection, and you're willing to like share more with them and get that support. Whereas if you don't trust them, I personally do more on my own. So
I guess it's very similar what Jennifer was saying. It's very, very similar. My aspect, yeah, if you don't trust somebody, you're not going to go to them. I mean, and when you do have to work with them, like say in a project or something like that, it's very uncomfortable, and you're always like, what's going to happen next? You always feel like you're working on your tiptoes. When's the shoe going to drop? You know? So I just, yeah, please nobody say anything. So it's just, you know, when you work with somebody you do trust, I mean, you have that, you're familiar with them, you trust them, you can say things to them that, you know, you don't worry about, you know, what's going to happen or what they're going to say, because they know you. And
Right.
I think that makes the difference.
Mm-hmm. And I know that one of the articles also said, and I've seen quotes like this all of the time, but when you trust your leadership, you're going to do more. You're going to be a more effective team player and more lawyer and work a little harder and push a little more. And I know I've seen, I've read it on boards, and I love the quote. It's when you are appreciated, you're going to go above and beyond. People who feel appreciated are going to work harder for people because they feel intrinsically motivated, because they're like, hey, I really like this person. I trust them. I want to help them. And so, because they've helped me as well. And that is, it kind of aligns with what you guys, it is aligning with what you guys are.
It kind of aligned with what we were saying with that video we watched. Was it this time we watched that video?
Mm-hmm.
About, yeah, it kind of aligns with what he was saying as well. So,
Yeah.
I think for me, at our school district, trust went out 2 years ago. We were told that from our leadership team, from our administration, was that teachers that have performed and shown gain, and several of us at the elementary department did have gain and show that, and we were told that, okay, there's a merit pay going around, a talk of merit pay going around, and we're supposed to put up student scores again. And So that was brought up last year, and the pandemic happened. No. Before that, a year before last year, 2 years ago. So we talked about it, and then as the months went by, nothing happened. No, and we did try to bring it back up again during our staff meetings. Nothing, and that was with the female principal. We reminded her of it. We reminded her about it, and we're like, "This." So we got our student scores up.
Mhm.
So where's our pay? And that's the first time that actually happened. That was the first time that someone in our leadership said that if you guys bring up the scores, you'll get this pay, and it'll go evenly among the teachers. Da 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 da. And that was it.
And it never happened.
And it never happened. And then the pandemic happened, and then now it's like, what do we? Now they're talking about, are the test scores valid if they take the test at home? So we're like, you guys tell us. So so trust for me, it's like between my students and myself right now, just keeping that communication and staying active with my parents, checking in with them, with my parents and my students, and that's where it's at for me right now. The school is just, I don't know what, it's hard for me. It's really hard. So that's where I'm at with my school.
Trust.
It's lacking.
All right. Well, that makes me so sad for you. I'm sorry to hear that you don't trust your leadership, but I love that you're here with us learning, and I love that we're all talking about this, because I feel like it's important to have these conversations that revolve around this, because we know that when we don't trust someone, it is like, Donna, like you said, and I think Jennifer, you also mentioned, it's hard to get it back, right? And you said it too. And I think that, I don't know, I guess that leads me into a question for all of you is, we're leaders, we drop the ball. What's our next step? What do we do? And so just like that, if I was in your principal's position, Antonia, I'm not sure how should she have approached it? I guess if I was her, what would I have done to heal and mend that broken trust? I don't know. Has she ever, I guess
being honest at that point.
Yeah.
Well, she
what happened, at least to the staff.
She was escorted off campus.
Yeah. So that there's something to be said about that. Clearly,
Yeah.
Yep. A poor leader isn't going to be somebody who's going to say, "Hey, I messed up. I said that I was going to be able to do this for you. I can't follow through." And I'm so sorry about that. So Donna, just communication. We're bringing it back to that piece.
Yeah.
We would have to say, "Hey, I messed up."
You have to own the mistake.
Own that mistake. Yep. And I think, and that goes into, I think where did I read it? No, I put a note of it there. Oh, I mean, literally, it's one of the first things, and it's in that article as well. Just being transparent, parent, and holding yourself accountable. And when you don't, and when you are holding yourself accountable, people are going to be like, "Okay, yep, I see it. I'm seeing that you messed up. You're telling us you messed up. This is how you're going to move forward, and past the mistake, and saying, hey, we're going to do this together." And
that's what I was going to say is we see it, and thank you for sharing us that was a mistake. And then maybe this is one of the ways we could attack it, let's use this approach. Why don't we just go this way? And including the other employees or your staff members, your team members, and say, what do you guys think? That right there, I think, is leadership, and then building that trust. instead of that leader talking, because that's what my principal is doing now during our staff meetings. And so I'm just like, can I? And then it just goes on. He goes on, and this is our new principal, and it's exciting. The only thing grand about him right now is that he's got a new girlfriend, and he's in love again, and that part is calming. He's human. He's not a robot. He's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then he comes back to work Monday, staff meeting. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And wait, those are your dreams. But we've been talking about dreams ever since he showed up, but when are we actually gonna start on ours?
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't given the time yet for him to say, what do you guys think? And then it's like a brief pause, and then he starts talking again.
Mm-hmm.
Because in one of the articles, or in Brene Brown's book, I'm one of the persons, or one of those people that hesitate. I have to think about the question first, because one of you said, do they want to hear this answer or do they want to hear this answer? So I have that hesitation. So I got to think about it first, and then put everything in sequential order, and then say it. So it's really challenging. Like I said, with our school, it's really challenging, and you wish you could step up and say it the way you don't want to crush everybody's dreams and whatnot. But for me, it's like, oh, you're from this clan. That's our Navajo thing. You're from this clan, the Kintlachitni clan, and that's the Bear clan. And they say that you're so sharp to the point, like you just want to push that whatever that sore, and that's how your clan is, they say. So I try not to be that clan. I mean, I try not to be that bear. Okay, I try to back off, and then it also affects my kids. And they say sometimes they say, Mom, that was too mean. Mom, you shouldn't have. Mom, you got to really think about our feelings too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all of that, and it's what was the question?
Oh no, you're good. So you answer the question, and I think that question and your answer also kind of falls under that fourth question, which is, how was your thinking affirmed? So
Oh, okay.
we're gonna have all these conversations, and I think we've already kind of answered number 4 together. But
Okay.
I think, and we'll go to this next. Maybe I'll end with the principal interview question. But let's kind of talk about the behaviors and actions that we're going to continue to do, start to do, and stop doing. So I think, Antonia, you said that you have to start to take into the account what other people are saying, what they need, and asking for their input more often. Would you agree?
Yeah. But one of the stop doing things that I said was, let me take it to you real quick. Is working alone. I'm kind of like this lone wolf kind of person, and every chance I get, I try to let my coworkers know.
Sorry.
So one of them is working alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to stop doing that and share everything else, what I'm doing in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And is it just one? Is it just one? Do we just answer just one? Or
Do one.
should
We'll
we
go
do the-
around. We'll do a couple from each of us and kind of keep going around.
Okay. And then one of the other things is start to do is set respectful boundaries. Like I don't know, like I don't something about boundaries.
Yeah, no, I love that. So you said stop working alone. I completely agree with that. I think that is a very valuable thing to stop doing, because we work better as a team, right? Like, you don't have all the answers. You're gonna have to go
Yeah.
and search for those answers and communicate with your staff to find what you're looking for,
Yeah.
along with the song in the background.
Yeah. And then one of the other things is continue to do is sharing gratitude. I think
Yes.
there's a lot of that's missing at our school, and that sharing gratitude, like let's say Valentine's Day, and I send teachers like little candy bags,
Mhm.
or during Halloween I send Halloween treat bags and with pencils in them, and there's none of that now. You hardly see none of that now. But one of the parents gave me a treat bag, and this candy I've never seen before. Like, I don't even eat, or I don't even it looks interesting, but that was really great, and I thought that was great gratitude from one of my parents. And I did say thank you, and I was very appreciative, and it was good, and my little one liked it.
Love that.
And we need more of that. I mean, it doesn't have to be candy, but it's like a little notepad or pencils or pens. And my coworker actually has a whole lot of gratitude, and today she just bought me a new phone.
Oh.
Wow.
I mean,
Well,
she did the whole down payment thing, and I'm just so grateful right now. And I'm like,
Wow.
it is,
That's
it is. Wow. She is a former principal,
Oh.
Miss Rodriguez.
Ready to go, guys?
So I'm also learning a lot from her, and she's real cool.
That's so, Auntie, thank you for sharing that with us. Those are some great things that to start, and continue doing. I love that.
For me, I said one thing I would start to do is to be more vocal on where I stand, and to stop being too agreeable. I kind of just will go with it, and I don't necessarily say what I really think sometimes, which can kind of get me in some binds sometimes, and I'm doing things I don't want to be doing. And then another one was start choosing courage over comfort, and stop getting hard on myself when something doesn't go how it was supposed to go, or if it was uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's some of mine.
I like that you're saying, stop being as agreeable, because I align with that. I definitely am not always the most vocal when it comes to things that I don't agree about, because I think we talked about this last time too. It's just that we kind of avoid those conflicts. We're not always willing to stir the pot. And sometimes as a leader, it's necessary. And especially in order to make a change, which is what we're talking about a lot in our classes, is how are we going to make changes? And sometimes we have to say, hey, this is not working. And I know you might not like this. And I know this is going to disrupt your comfort zone, but we need to move and push past that comfort zone, and in order to make a positive change for our students. And so I really agree with that. So thank you. What about you, Donna?
Oh, let's see. I need to see people come up to me because I'm a little techie. Okay. And they think that I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. And so they come up to me with these grand ideas, and it's mostly leadership. Oh, what about if we do this and this? And I need to learn to say no. Okay. That's what I need. Or, I'll say, oh, sure, I could totally do it. Somehow it does happen, but I need to just learn to say no. That's my no, I can't do that. Or no, I just don't know how. Or no, there's an IT department that does that. I just need to learn that. That's my stop doing.
Mhm.
I need to start, I guess I need to start having conversations, because I'm never the first to initiate a conversation. I'm not. I'm an introvert. Just let me lock me up in my room and I'm fine. Yeah, I know, which is weird. Why am I going for leadership?
Well, no, you're kind of like Auntie. You're like, I need to stop doing things alone. I need to stop isolating myself. All the
In the same way, yes. In some ways, I am. It's like I'm a mixture. Okay, it depends on what the situation is, but I need to learn to, if I need help or if I need to just say hello. I need to initiate something and just be the first person out there, and it'd be okay to be the first, to bare my soul, so to speak, So yeah, that's what I am. I just continue the positive effort.
Even introverts can be leaders. That doesn't mean I feel like you are willing to go out of your comfort zone to do that too. It might not be natural for you, but it's something that you're willing to do.
But I think, if we're willing to do it and we're get over the initial discomfort, eventually it will start to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Or just go back in my office and cry. It's fine.
Which I'm sure we've all done. You're finished, right, Donna?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So I said that one thing that I need to start doing more of really is boundaries. I am a yes girl. I am like, yeah, I'll do that for you. Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, no problem. Like, I'll get that work done for you all over the board for like everyone, because I'm a people pleaser. And sometimes I find myself losing trust with people because I'm trying to do it all. And when I drop the ball, sometimes I'm having to say, hey, I wasn't able to get that done for you. Like, I'm really sorry. And so by setting boundaries and by continuing to set boundaries, we'll start doing it more often, is that I will delegate a little more, value my time and give, that one project my 100% effort so that I can move on to the next project and not overwhelm myself with a billion projects. I know as a leader, that's really hard. I'm watching my principal juggle like 1,000 bajillion things. But I also think it's really important to set boundaries. And I've talked to some of my other leadership and they said, I have to create that work-life balance. And that's one of the boundaries he said is probably one of the most important. And I think that's challenging for me. So I need to really start being more conscious and aware of doing that. And then, yeah, do you agree?
Things I could be at that meeting. Yes, that one too. Like,
Yeah.
okay, it's my time now.
And I think it's also in my effort to establish myself as somebody who is trustworthy or, involved and wanting to be, involved in more. But it's also putting me in a really hard position where I'm like, okay, I'm already doing an accelerated ASU course. I'm already doing this. I'm trying to also have a life outside of work, and I'm finding it difficult. So that is something I need to start being more cut and dry with. Like, nope, I'm leaving work at 5:00 and that's it. I'm going to leave that there. And maybe I'll do one or two, but I can't do that. I can't be maybe I'll just go home and do this too. So I need to be more set in stone with my boundaries when it comes to that. And then one thing that I wanted to continue doing was just being more vulnerable and open. I don't feel like I've ever had a problem with it. I want to continue doing that and strengthening that skill though, because I do, as much as I like to say that I'm a great communicator, Donna, it's kind of like your principal. I want that to be evident to everyone. I want people to say, hey, I really thank you for telling me that. Thank you for communicating that with me. Thank you for coming to see me and asking me about this. So that's one thing I want to continue doing and build a strength in. And then one thing that I want to stop doing is, I don't know, that one was hard for me. I'm like, I don't really have anything in mind necessarily that I'm going to stop doing, but I want to stop. I'm kind of with you guys, Donna and Auntie, is really just not being a lone wolf. You know, I want to stop saying, hey, I can do this on my own. I don't need to ask anyone for help. I've got this, right? So that's one thing I also need to stop doing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Working collaboratively is good.
Yep, it is. It is.
More minds, what is it? More hands in the kitchen gets more things done. Or
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's not how the saying goes, but that's okay.
In the kitchen, right?
I'm pretty sure that's not how it goes, but that's okay.
No, so that's one thing I want to stop doing, is saying I can do it all by myself, because I can't. And then the last question I have on here, and we've definitely gone over our time, so we can make this one quick, is what is a question from the principal interviews that resonated with you the most?
For me, because it's a new principal, the question that talked about values and beliefs, because it allowed me to get to know him and kind of figure out like what's important to him. So that's what resonated with me the most. Like really, I felt like that question, they were all super important, but that question like really allowed me to kind of get to know him as the leader a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think for me, it was the advice. What advice would you give? What was it? It was towards the end. What advice would you give me to prepare for school leadership? And it was kind of interesting because, you know, she's been in her position for 9 years, but it was still it's still not that long ago. And just to see how her perspective was when she was in my position, you know, like, when she was doing what I was doing right now, what advice would she give herself? Or, you know, and it was kind of interesting. You know, she was just saying you just need to have an open mind and be flexible, and just to, you know, because things are always changing, especially, you know, in today's school culture, but things are always changing, and always keep the children first in every decision that you make. The students are first, no matter what everybody else is telling you. The students are always first. And I was just like, okay, well, that's true.
Yeah.
So.
Auntie, do you have any, what was the question from the principal interview that you found to be the most helpful?
I'm gonna pull that up right now. The one that
What is your number? We're just gonna call you real quick.
I can go if you want to take a minute. You want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the question in the principal interview that I really enjoyed getting to hear his response from was, how do you build trust and credibility? Because that was what this was kind of based around as well, this conversation. And I thought it was a little more with what we were talking about. And he said transparency. It's the best way to build relationships with your staff and teachers. And then I asked him about how he dealt with teachers who might not trust his decisions. And his answer was very surprising to me. And he said, when a teacher doesn't trust me or doesn't trust my decision making, I make it about the students. I come to them and say, hey, here's why I'm doing this. It's because of our kids. And it's kind of hard. He's like, in a way, to me, what he was saying was, it's kind of hard to argue with somebody who's doing something for student achievement and for the students. He's like, it's not about me. It's not about my ideas or what I want. He's like, it's about what's going to be best for our students. And so I thought that was an interesting way to approach those teachers that don't necessarily agree.
Okay.
Who cares if she
Ready?
gets a 0 on her test?
Yeah, good.
One of the things that really stood out with me was question 10, the last one.
Mhm.
What is the legacy you like to leave as an impact of your time at the school? And he said, when I leave the school, when I hear the success of the school, I would like to hear the community say, we did it ourselves. This is based on a quote by Lao Tzu. A leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, we did it ourselves. So that was something that I'm in the process of doing.
For how many
You know,
months? How many
I'm from
years?
Rock Point.
So all of our installments.
I graduated
are
from
30
Rock
years.
Point Community
So
School.
2.5 years is how long
I
our
went to
installments
school.
are.
Now I'm going back to school to go. I'm teaching at the school, and then pretty soon, one day, I'm gonna be a principal at the school. Like, I'm like, holy cow! It's like bam, 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 and I'm in that quote. We did it ourselves. So that right there is something that really stood out with me, and now it's my job to fulfill that for him. I mean, not for him, but for myself and my community, and
So we're talking
and
about 190?
it's like cool. I mean, it's really cool that he said this about us at our school, and with that, it's
Like I said,
that
once we pay off the devices,
respect
that'll
and that
drop
bond
down.
and that leadership is really aspiring and trustworthy, I think.
So if we
So
put a cart right now,
And you getting to
it'll
be
come
part of
down
that
to
is
160
a really,
as well?
really very poignant thing. That's very awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the last question. And you guys, we did awesome going through everything. I really enjoyed hearing all of your perspectives on building trust. We're doing, I feel like we're having these wonderful conversations. We're even going above
Yeah.
and beyond, and it's
Yeah.
very special.
Yeah.
490.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
A couple weeks, right? We have another one in a couple weeks, right?
Yes, and then that was going to be you, right, Auntie? You're leading, and I
5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a
Somebody said they're tech savvy. They can send me steps on how to do this. But I do have a Zoom account.
You have a Zoom account through ASU.
Oh, okay. I think I have one through our school district too.
If you go to like zoom.asu, it should come up.
Okay. All right.
And if you need help, just let us all know. Text the group chat, and we can probably work our way through it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
The only number I have is Megan's number. I don't have
Oh, did I not text the whole group?
It was a
Donna
group
and
chat,
Jennifer.
but I don't think it. Donna and I responded.
Okay. Well, here's my new number if you want to write it down.
Oh, sure.
I got a new phone.
Oh,
Megan, do you want to start another group chat?
yeah. I'll do that.
Okay. 928
Hey, 928.
380
Yep.
5414.
All right, Auntie, thank you. I will text the three of us, and then just
Okay.
you guys all respond with your names, and that way we have that group thread. All right.
All right.
Okay.
We'll
Thank
see you
you.
guys.
Okay. Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween.